Hello everyone, it is your boy Winster and I am back at it again with another video. Today we are doing something a little bit new, something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about some tech cards that are growing in popularity in the current format. My personal thoughts on them. Should you guys invest? Should you not invest? How are they really getting applied? But before we get into today's video, I would appreciate it if you guys hit the subscribe button. If you guys turn on the notifications while you're down there, we're ever so close to hitting 1,500 subscribers. Crazy amount. Thank you everyone for always supporting. If you guys want to check out my Discord, it's very active, wholesome, chill community. If you guys are learning the game, if you guys are wanting a community to play with, be sure to check out the description box. I have very active TikTok and Twitch and Twitter, which are all going to be listed down below. But let's go ahead and jump into today's video. I'm pretty excited to talk about these cards. So Lullaby of Obedience has two printings, one Ultra and one Secret Rare. It goes without saying that players are always going to go for the highest rarity, Secret Rare being the highest rarity at the moment. It is going roughly around the same price, $8 to $10. The secret rare and the ultra rare is just not far behind. The reason for that is because there's only two, and they're an ultra and a secret. The card text reads: pay 2,000 life points and declare one monster name, and that is cost. Your opponent looks at their deck, reveals one of the declared monsters if there is any, and applies one of these effects. Either added to the hand of the player who activated this card, or B, the player who activated this card special summons it to their field in attack position, ignoring summoning conditions. Now, this card always comes up when there's like a tier 0 format where there's just so much representation of a single deck. There's so much representation, you're bound to play against that strategy yourself. So going to events, using this and calling out very important cards like Ash and Oak is really good, because if you're on that deck yourself, you'll be able to just reap all the rewards. This becomes any monster in your deck if your opponent happens to play the same deck. Now, in my personal opinion, I think this card is far too expensive. So my overall thoughts on the card: I think the card is really good. However, it has a huge drawback. It's only really applicable in formats such as the one that we're currently in, where there's so much representation of a current deck and you're bound to run against it in a big event. At your locals, I don't think this card is even worth touching. Yes, you're more than likely to run into that deck. However, you're bound to run into several different options. And this is too much of a gamble to run in the main or even the side. There are much better options. And on the price side, it is a very expensive card. $10 for a secret rare. For a playset, you're going to pay 30 plus after shipping and waiting to get the card. So personally, I don't think it's worth the investment right now. I think this is only really applicable when you're going to a huge event and there is a tier 0 format, or there is just a deck that is just so strong that you have to use this card to get those cards out of your opponent's deck. So, only in those specific situations is this card really usable. It's a really weaker version of Crossout Designator. In a way, it stops your opponent from getting to those cards and gets them to your side of the field. It's just a bonus if you just so happen to play the same deck and then be able to use those effects yourself. And then the last thing on top of that, this card, in my opinion, I do think that it is going to get a reprint. The reason being is because this price jump was just absolutely insane. Obviously, this card was in the anime, and I think that's why it's held any kind of price. And other times where maybe tier 0 is a thing, or it becomes a thing, this card always gets talked about. I think back when tier was running things, I do remember that this card was brought up very briefly. But $8 for this is not worth it. I think that it is going to get reprinted soon in the Rarity Collection. Every time there's a tier 0, this card gets brought up. I remember back when tier was the biggest threat in the format. I remember a couple people talking about this card maybe coming back, and I think that's why it still holds some sort of value. Before all this, it was about $1 to $2, give or take. But now, just when YCS Las Vegas happened, that team event, look, it just skyrocketed. I think this price jump is too much for Konami to ignore. It would be crazy to think that Konami doesn't look at the second market. So I would definitely say that this has a very high possibility of getting reprinted, especially the showcase that it had at YCS. Psy Frame Gear Delta. There is only one printing of this card, which is absolutely insane. Unlike Gamma, its more popular counterpart. However, Gamma being limited to one really hurt the card tremendously. Our Ciphering Gear Gamma reads as cannot be normal summon or set, must be special summoned by card effect, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. During either player's turn, when your opponent's spell is activated while you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand and one driver from your hand, deck, or graveyard, and if you do, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. During the end phase, banish any monster summoned this way. It's a very, very powerful effect, essentially Gamma just for spell cards. Goes without saying that this card really came into light against the Snake Eyes card strategy due to stopping Bonfire, original, the field spell. On top of that, has a lot of coverage, being covering Pot of Prosperity, Triple Tactics Talons, Change of Heart, the list goes on. Unfortunately, you don't have much options in terms of price. The card right now, for at least for a near mint, is going about $9 to $10. And here's the price, right? This card was going for pennies just a couple months ago for $3-4, and that's actually when I picked up my set. And then they saw how useful it was, and they saw how much spells Snake Eyes / Fire Kings play, and then it just skyrocketed. It's starting to come down because people are coming to their senses. I do think it's going to get reprinted in Rarity Collection. There's not really much to talk about the printings, you know, because there isn't much else other than just the one. But this card is really, really good in my opinion and worth picking up. So here is a newer tech option that players are using, Chain Disappearance. This card's art is amazing, one of my favorites. I remember this card being in the anime, but Chain Disappearance is a pretty old card, has several printings, rare to super to gold to secret. The card's effect is when a monster or monsters with 1000 or less attack is summoned, banish all that monster or monsters with 1000 or less attack. Then your opponent banishes all cards with the same name as that card or cards from their hand and deck, which is absolutely amazing against the Snake Eyes strategy. Actual usage of the effect is your opponent normal summons Ash, Poplar. I think the bigger target here would be Ash, and you just activate this and banish all the copies of this card. It doesn't negate that first summon if they were to summon Poplar or Ash. It would stop them from extending much further because they'll get rid of the Ash. They'll get rid of all those copies in the hand or deck, which is like actually insane. This card's actual usage is really limited here because it targets such a specific monster with 1000 less attack. So it's only really useful in specific formats. You guys, one so happens to fall into the Chain Disappearance category where it's effective against it. So that's why it's seeing some play. The big problem with this card is that it's a trap card. Let's talk about price. This is a no-brainer since there's like multiple printings of this card, low rarity, high rarity. The low rarity being a common, you could just get it for 30 cents, get a playset for under $2, which is fairly good. As far as a secret rare though, the secret rares are going for a little bit over $3, maybe $5, depends, right? There are on the more expensive side, and here people are already starting to buy them, which is pretty crazy. I do think that this is something, if you want to buy to test the water, just get the lowest rarity of it, and you just want to make sure that you're able to have every option against Snake Eye. Just pick up the rares. Rares are going to be fine. They're going to be good. Buying a playset for maybe $3 to maybe $5, in my opinion, is just not worth it. The last card that I wanted to talk to you guys about is Deck Lockdown, a very powerful spell card. Neither player can add cards from their deck to their hand except by drawing them. Monsters cannot be special summoned from the main deck. Destroy this card during your second standby after activation. Pretty straightforward effect. It is a floodgate. This card is seeing a lot of play currently. Just build your board, activate this card, and you're pretty much set. Your opponent won't be able to add, and not only add, they won't be able to special summon. So it's draw and summon limit locked into a spell. The problem with that is that it not only just affects your opponent, but affects you as well. Now, the actual usage is pretty straightforward, right? Set up your board and then activate it at the last thing that you do, and now your opponent won't be able to play. But the big problem with that is that it also affects you. There are multiple printings of the card. That's a good thing, right? There's a common, rare, and an ultra. It goes without saying, people are always going to go for the highest rarity. This card is going for maybe $2. And it's only because there's a rare and common of it. But if you want to get the cheapest playset, those cards are coming in close to $1 a piece. Kind of shocked that this card isn't much more expensive. It's a pretty deadly floodgate in my opinion. Now, the question is it worth picking up? I personally think so. Even outside of Snake Eyes meta, this card is actually really strong. Not allowing your opponent to special summon is absolutely crazy. So I think it's worth picking up, especially for the price. And picking up an ultra rare for less than 2, I think it's really worth it. So that brings us to the end of today's video. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys found it informative. I want to do more videos like this talking about like tech options and what's worth picking up. It's kind of like a market watch video, but more so on the techier side and what players are currently looking at than just looking at overall like value of cards. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if there's anything that you guys liked, learned, if there's anything that I should change in terms of doing these types of videos, if you guys actually like them. Let me know in the comment section, guys. And while you're down there, please consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. Turn on the notification bell. We're getting close to 1,500 subscribers, and it's all thanks to everyone here watching. So a big thank you. But that's going to be it. My name is Winster. You guys have a good rest of your day. Peace out.